Well, greetings, Cap fans. Welcome to episode 280 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Verbanis, and I've got the best gosh darn co host out there. You know his name. It's Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob. Alea Jacta Est. The die is cast.
Nice, nice. Was that Latin? Pig
Uh,
Latin? What was
it's
that?
not, no, it's not Pig Latin. But it is I don't know if that was Latin or if that was Italian. It might be Latin.
Hmm, all right.
But do you know the saying, the die is cast?
The die is cast. Yeah, yeah. The Rubicon's been crossed. The die is cast.
Exactly who said that?
Caesar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, very nice. Yeah, I think it was
Man makes a killer salad.
he does, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like 49 BC. And maybe you could tell the listeners a little bit of, do you know why he said that?
Well, I mean, it was his armies coming back from Gaul, right? And the Rubicon was the river that once he crossed, he came back into the domains of Rome, I believe. And that was when they knew that he was all about business and he was going to seize power.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's has been used as a reference you know, generations afterwards as like the point of no return,
Yeah.
right? Is
Mm-hmm.
once you cross this river Rubicon, you you're you're pretty much set. Like that is the
Yeah.
dividing line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob, what's your personal Rubicon?
Ooh, my personal Rubicon. Gosh, you put me on the spot with this one,
I did.
Rick.
I didn't even know I was asking until I
I
asked it.
know. I don't know if personal Rubicon. I don't know. It seems very dramatic. So
I know.
I don't think I'm sure I have lots of red lines.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe now we use that as sort of the term, right? WMDs. That's a red line for me.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I'm
Well,
just pulling that one out of here.
mm-hmm.
Based on foreign policy. I don't know, surely there must be some, but
Maybe do you have a Captain America Rubicon?
ooh, a line that Cap can't cross.
No, a line that you, I guess, with fellow Captain America collectors, you're like, sorry, man, if you don't love Mike Zeck,
Oh
that is the
no,
River Rubicon.
I don't think I have like that. I think if anybody, maybe if somebody were to tell me that William Burnside was a better Cap than Steve Rogers, that would be
Mm.
that'd be a threshold I could not cross.
Mm-hmm.
That would be, yeah. I don't
All
know.
right.
That's a tough question.
I
Now
know,
I'm going to
right?
be thinking about that all day, Rick. Thanks.
You're welcome. And
I'm
also
going to
to
take
our
a nap.
listeners, make sure in the comments of the show, maybe put your own personal
Mm-hmm.
Captain America Rubicon. I think we know what, for example, a Tom Boyd might put,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, I imagine it would have to do with some female
Character.
hero slash villain slash
Yeah, yeah.
hero. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. All
Yeah.
right, that'll be fun. Let's get some response on that.
By the way, Rick, I want to let you know that I've been meaning to bring this up to Tom that I'm now a noble.
Huh?
Yeah. So have you heard of the Principality of Sealand?
No, I have not.
All right. Well, it is a formerly established independent nation, established on an old, I think it was like an old research station or a radio station off the coast of England, and it's not very big. It's like the size of it's even smaller than a modern oil derrick. But it used to be an independent radio station, and then man, about 40 years ago, this guy Michael took it over and established his own nation called Sealand.
Interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
and for a very small price, you can become a lord or a lady, a baron or a baroness, or even a knight, and you get a nice framed certificate signed by Prince Michael, who is the head of Sealand. And so I recently received that. So now I am Baron Baron Robert Eugene Lucius.
Please
Of
tell me this was a gift from somebody that just was like, I can't think of anything else to get Bob. I'm going to do this. Please tell me you didn't buy this
No,
yourself.
of course this is yeah, of course this is a gift. So I am
Oh, okay. All right, good.
that's a gift, Baron.
I am not addressing you as Baron.
Oh, you let. In fact, I'm thinking about adding a Vaughn, so Baron von Bob, sort of like a la Strucker, But
Sure.
yeah, so I feel like I'm
Uh,
in good company these
I,
days.
I
So
I will tell you, the next time I set foot in Sealand, I will address you as your
all right, fair
rightful
enough.
title.
All right, we'll roll out the red carpet. It'll be a very short red carpet, however, because it is over very deep water. So
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah, but you
not a
know
lot
what?
of
Does
room.
that make you a villain? Because I have yet to meet a Baron that was
Yeah,
not
I'm
a
okay. I'm
villain.
okay with that. I'm okay. I take whatever I can get, Rick, these days. So
Uh-huh.
I just need a little respect. So.
You'll take it any way you can get it. But Bub, why am I greeting you with a quote from Julius Caesar?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we are covering casualties of war today, which is a Civil War one
Mm-hmm.
shot, and of course, there is a Rubicon that has been crossed, right? In fact, a few Rubicons, a few dies that have been cast between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, Captain
Mm.
America, and that has accelerated the pace of the conflict in Civil War. So I think that probably has something to do with it, right?
It does, but it'll dawn on you. It'll
All right,
dawn on you a little bit later
all right,
as we're going through this.
all right.
So yes, Civil War has been a big story, and also if you listen to the last episode, episode 279, where Bob, John Waller Sewell, and I did a recap of Civil War 1 through 7. And that was a fantastic episode. Little lengthy because, well, it was a 7-part series, and also a fairly important story in over the last 20 years. And so that was a great episode. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that yet, make sure you check that out. Last episode, and then I'm going to give a little plug now for next episode. So next episode, we have a guest on the show, as we typically do the first Wednesday of every month, and this one is going to be writer Christos Gage. And can't wait to have Christos on the show. He actually is the writer of today's story, Iron Man, Captain America, Casualties of War. So perfect timing to have him on the show. And it's also perfect timing because it is the 20-year anniversary of Civil War with Marvel Comics. And they are essentially celebrating that with a new miniseries called Civil War Unmasked, and it is a series of one shots that are kind of going behind the scenes of what happened during Civil War, which is a little bit kind of like today's story, which is also going to be written by Christos Gage. So, fantastic timing to have him on the show. So, not only to talk about casualties of war, which we're covering today, but also the upcoming Civil War Unmasked series.
That was can I say this, Rick? I think I can, right? Because we've already people know we've already had that interview with Christos, and it's in the can. It was a fun interview.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, other than this, a couple other things, I hadn't been familiar with some of Christos's work, but I went and I read some stuff after, including that, and he's going to talk about it in the show, Battle World, which
Mm.
was a recent, I think, 5-part miniseries, and it was just a lot of fun. So I think folks are going to really enjoy that interview and maybe learn some new stuff and get turned on to some new reading.
Yeah. Yeah, I still need to check out Battleworld. I do look forward to that whole part with Bucky.
Mm-hmm. It
You
was
know,
good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. All right. A couple other just things of note I will point out for today. If you're listening on the day this comes out, which is February 25th, a couple days from now is a birthday, celebrating a birthday, is Andy Kubert. Andy Kubert, his birthday is February 27th. You might recall Andy did some artwork on Captain America. I don't remember. Maybe it was like 6 issues or something like that. But definitely enjoyed his time on the series. And then March 1st is Ed McGuinness. And Ed McGuinness didn't do a ton of work on Captain America, but he's done a few. He actually has a pretty famous cover to Captain America 25. He was the alternate cover, the one where, he's just kind of running with his shield, as if everything is fine in this issue.
Yeah.
Pick it up. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a fun issue. Look,
Yeah.
Cap's smiling, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so happy
Also
for him.
reused, if I'm not mistaken, as the Taco Bell giveaway cover.
It was.
Yeah.
You're absolutely
So,
right.
which we covered, by the way.
Yeah. What episode?
Oh, I can't recall, Rick.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
long ago, but
it
it
was.
was fun. Yo
It
quiero Taco Bell.
Um, so anyway, those are the birthdays that celebrating this week. Um, Bob, I think it's time to bring on our guest today. We do have a guest. You may recognize his voice from such previous episodes. Episode 200, which is where we had our very first community theater, and we covered Galactic Storm, and he did the voice of Tony Stark. And then in episode 250, we did our second Cap Community Theater, which was Cap versus Scourge. And Alan had a couple of voices on there. So we thought, who better to come back and help us out with this particular story? And that is Mr. Tony Stark, a.k.a. Alan Kingsley. Hi, Alan.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. So, Alan, uh, that was the last time we saw you. It was episode 250. And remind the listeners again the voices that you did.
In the last community theater, I was, oh my goodness, I was the voice of primarily the guy at the bar who was trying to organize everybody into like a collective when right before the bar gets gunned down by Scourge.
Mm-hmm.
I did the voice of Mindwave for about half a second.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very end, I was the voice of Scourge 2 when the original Scourge is gunned down.
Yes. Yeah. That was a fun episode.
Quite a
It's a lot of
portfolio.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. We needed a lot of voices for that story arc. Certainly not something that I could do all by myself. So, yeah. But it's great to have you back. But we haven't really had a chance to talk with you one on one. So, real quick, tell us a little bit about your introduction to becoming a Captain America fan. How did that happen?
Sure. So I was aware of Cap when I was a kid collecting, but I was way more interested in whoever people thought was cool. So I was way more into Spider-Man and Wolverine and all that. I had Captain America 405, which is the Cap Wolf, the sort of famous cover of the wolf head and shadow. Um, but that was my only Cap comic. And I knew him through the Spider-Man event Maximum Carnage, where he shows up sort of at Spidey's darkest hour to give him a hand up and set him on the right path again. But it actually wasn't until Civil War when I'd gotten out of college and started getting back into comics. I read through Civil War and I got to the last issue of Civil War and I said, huh, I bet it'd be an interesting time to start reading Captain America. So I went to my local store and said, hey, can you start saving Cap for me? And my guy, Mike, says, why? I said, because I think it might be interesting. Do you know what happened? No, I thought it might be interesting. And he gave me the book and said, 25 with that cover you were just talking about on it, and said, go sit in that chair, read the book. Do not look at your phone. Do not do anything else until you read that comic. I said, okay. And I sat down and read Captain America 25 and went, oh my.
Now I have a few years to catch up on back issues.
Yes. So from then on, I started collecting Cap. And it really just right through up until now. And at a certain point, I had to drop many of the books that I was collecting. But I said, you know what? If I'm going to focus on one thing, Cap has easily become my favorite character. I got to stick with him. So I collected Cap ever for the last 20 years since that. And have just started filling in my back collection as I've gone. But he's become my sort of focus in the comics world. If it's got Cap on it, I'm going to buy it.
That's awesome. That's nice to hear. It's funny is, I owned a comic book shop during that time. The
Mm,
Civil War was out and Captain America 25 was out. So I think I probably had many of those conversations myself. It's like, okay, you wait a minute. You need to read this right away. Um, and that's really cool that person sets you on the right path.
for sure.
Um, All right. Well, we should probably get into today's story. It is a lengthy story, but I think it'll go pretty quick because it is really just two characters. It's Iron Man and Captain America. So Tony and Steve, it's heavy dialogue going back and forth, and so not only will we have Alan's help with Tony's voice, but we're going to have Bob's help with describing what's going on, which normally is something that I would do, but we wanted to stick with the drama, and we're going to hold on any tangents until the end, just to really because of the impact of this particular story. So it's just, maybe it's going to be a little different episode than normal. So hopefully listeners like it, and we would love to hear your feedback on it after this comes out.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
All right. So Bob, maybe I will start with the solicitation.
I like when you solicit.
I do.
I mean, solicitation me.
In the midst of Civil War, Captain America and Iron Man meet secretly one last time to see if there's any hope of working things out before further tragedy occurs. Don't miss this oversized special that reveals how these two men, once the closest of friends and staunchest of allies, could end up leading opposing armies in the conflict tearing apart the Marvel Universe. So we get to the creative team, and as I mentioned, Christos Gage is the writer. I do think it's interesting, and we do talk about this with him next week in our interview with him. I do find it interesting in that this was basically, you know, his major start with Marvel. Like he had only been in writing comics. Now he had been writing other things, right? Screenplays and stuff like that. But as far as comics were concerned, he kind of broke in with in DC with a Deadshot miniseries in early 2005, and then did a few Batman Legends of the Night issues. But outside of doing the Union Jack miniseries with our friend of the show, Mike Perkins, um, here he is now doing this particular story, which was huge considering the ramifications of what was going on with Civil War at the time, to have this new comic book writer to take this on. So I found that really interesting. And again, we talk more about that with Christos next week. The penciler is Jeremy Haun, inker Mark Morales, longtime veteran, colorist Maury Hollowell, letterer Corey Pettit, and editor Andy Schmidt. Now, the covers, Bob, the covers were 50-50 covers, meaning that retailers, which I was one at the time, we would get these comics and they would just send 50% cover A, 50% cover B. And the covers were done by Jim Chung, and essentially one features Captain America over a downed Iron Man, and the other one features an Iron Man over a downed Captain America. And I put them in order because that was on the order of the comic. So Cap was on top, and then Iron Man was on top, depending on which one you got. Bob, you want to take the listeners through these covers?
Yeah. So the first cover A, as you mentioned, has Cap in the superior position. He is torn up, Rick, right? He's standing over in a fighting position with his striking arm, his right arm, cocked back with his shield on it. So he's getting ready to jam that shield. into the chest plate of Iron Man, who is sprawled out on the ground with smoke coming out of his, gosh, what's the word for it, Rick?
The center chest plate?
Yeah, well,
Chest
the glowing thing in the middle of his chest. Gosh, I'm drawing a blank here.
The
but anyway.
arc reactor?
Yeah, the arc reactor, right? So smoke is pouring out of the arc reactor, and Steve is just on the verge, I think, of cracking that thing open. And I love this. I love this cover because, on his right quad, the uniform is torn open. There's cuts on his skin, and you can see part of his cowl is torn, and a shock of blonde hair is sticking out of it. So these guys have just wrapped up a tremendous struggle. Now on cover B, it's reversed, and we see Cap on the ground. He looks unconscious, and we got Iron Man standing above him, and it looks like he is just about to, or he's drawing back from firing a bolt of energy at Cap's chest, because there's smoke pouring off Cap's chest. So this is a terrifying couple covers, right? Because it shows worst case, one of our heroes is going down.
Yeah, and it's also very dramatic because, well, the other one who's doing it is a hero as well.
Yeah.
Right? And you just don't see that very often. Not to this extreme.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're friends, right? Former friends anyway at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, Bob, I'm going to turn it over to you to, I think maybe it would be good, just for those who maybe didn't listen to last episode, maybe to read the recap that they provide at the beginning of this book. Do you want to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, while the title of the book is Civil War Casualties of War, the title on the first page is Civil War Rubicon.
Huh.
What do you know? Yeah. So in the summary of Civil War goes as follows. After Stamford, Connecticut is destroyed during a televised fight between the New Warriors and a group of dangerous villains, public sentiment turns against superheroes. Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, is attacked outside a nightclub and beaten into a coma. Advocates call for reform, and a superhuman registration act is debated, which would require all those possessing paranormal abilities to register with the government, divulge their true identities to the authorities, and submit to training and sanctioning in the manner of federal agents. 1 week later, the act is passed. Any person with superhuman powers who refuses to register is now a criminal. Some heroes, such as Iron Man, see this as a natural evolution of the role of superhumans in society and a reasonable request. Others view the act as an assault on their civil liberties. After being called upon to hunt down heroes in defiance of the Registration Act, Captain America goes underground and begins to form a resistance movement. The superhuman community is split apart. Former teammates, comrades, and friends now find themselves at odds in this civil war. Iron Man and Captain America have gone from the staunchest of allies to the leaders of opposing armies. During a pitched battle between the two sides, Bill Foster, also known as Goliath, is killed by an out-of-control clone of Thor fighting for the pro-registration side. Brother has taken up arms against brother, and now blood has been spilled. So we turn the page and we see that we are outside of Avengers Mansion, once home to Earth's mightiest heroes, though currently unoccupied. Because if you recall, back in Avengers 500, the Avengers Mansion was destroyed by an exploding corpse of Jack of Hearts, as well as a Quinjet being rammed into the building by Vision shortly before unleashing several Ultron clones to attack the Avengers. We see a man walking down the sidewalk in this first panel, and we see him at a distance. He's wearing a trench coat. And then we see him hop that wall, which is about 12 feet high. And we see red boots poking out from under the trench coat. When he lands on the other side, we see the torso as he pulls open the trench coat, revealing the uniform of Captain America. And then we see Captain America take an alert pose behind his shield.
Hello, Steve. Glad you could make it.
Now, in this big first splash that we see, we have Iron Man sitting at a desk in a ruined office inside the Avengers Mansion. There's a huge gaping hole in the ceiling with ceiling beams, crash down on the floor.
I got your message.
I knew you'd remember the Avengers communication protocols for when normal channels are compromised. I just wasn't sure you'd be checking.
I check everything.
I was also concerned you might think it's trap.
No, you wouldn't. Not here. And if I'm wrong, I'll deal with it.
You're not. No one knows we're here. I thought we should talk. After all we've been through together, all these years, I think we owe it to each other to try to work things out one last time before something else happens.
Iron Man leans against the wall at this point where there is a photo pinned to the damaged structure, and it's a photo of the Avengers. It's Captain America, Iron Man, Scarlet Witch, the Vision, Wonder Man, and the Beast, a memory of old times.
What happened? Your man killed him, Tony. That's what happened.
You started that fight. I wanted to talk, remember? I practically begged you. I reached out a hand to you, and you stuck an electron scrambler into it.
After you led us into a trap and took out Cloak and Wiccan. They're kids, and you... Fine. You want to talk? Let's talk.
I'm glad to hear you say that. I really believe we can work through this, Steve. We always have in the past. Even after the Armor Wars thing, remember? It's kind of ironic, actually. That time, I was breaking the law, trying to get my stolen tech back, and you were the one upholding it. Now our roles have been reversed.
That wasn't about law. It was about you being so focused on your goals that you ignored the damage you were doing to others. Exactly like now. One thing. I'll talk to Tony Stark, not that mask.
That I can do.
Tony lifts his mask.
So, you wanted to talk.
Right. Listen, about Bill, you have to know I never...
Not about that. Not a good idea. Start with something else.
That wall. That's the one I came through, remember?
How could I forget? The first time we fought, you came crashing through the wall like a bull in a china shop, calling me chameleon. I hadn't been awake in the air long, hadn't had time to review the files on criminals. I had no idea what you were talking about.
I'd never met the chameleon either. He was one of Spider-Man's. I didn't realize how brilliant he was at disguise. When he showed up at my office, looking exactly like you, seemingly tortured half to death, I mean, God, Steve, the blood smelled like real blood. I believed he was you, and you were him, infiltrating the Avengers. The whole way over here, I imagined all the horrible things he'd done to you. When I arrived, talking was not high on my list. Those were the days when we could almost kill each other and smooth it over with a couple of words. I wish I could recall what you said. Something wonderfully old-fashioned.
I remember. Well, partner, I'm glad it all came out in the wash. No hard feelings.
Of course not, Cap.
Anyway, we're here to talk about what's going on now.
Can we start with why you're so damn adamant about this? Didn't you and I stand together in this very spot not all that long ago and try to talk the young Avengers out of running around getting into trouble because they were inexperienced and untrained? And when we couldn't stop them, didn't we agree to train them? That's what the Registration Act does. It makes sure would-be heroes are fully trained in the use of their powers for the public's safety and their own. Look at Spider-Man, still haunted after all these years by the death of that girl he loved, Gwen. If he'd been properly trained, maybe he could have broken her fall without breaking her neck. Besides, every male in this country has to register with the government when he turns 18. Are you saying that's wrong too?
Most 18-year-olds haven't made enemies of the Green Goblin. That girl died because a psychopath knew who Spider-Man was underneath his mask. Hector Elia, the White Tiger, found his entire family brutally murdered when his identity was exposed. The U.S. agent's parents were gunned down by terrorists after his name was made public.
No one's identity becomes public knowledge unless they choose.
Come on, Tony. Ultron, the Mad Thinker, Doctor Doom, Machinesmith. We have dozens of enemies who could hack into a government database without breaking a sweat. But even if they couldn't, governments change. Administrations come and go. I had to become nomad and later the captain when certain politicians decided they didn't like the way I operated. The Registration Act takes away any freedom we have, any autonomy. You don't know who could get elected, how public sentiment might change. I'm old enough to remember Japanese Americans being put in camps because they were judged potential threats to national security.
That's your problem, Steve. Always looking at the past. I look to the future. It's what I do. And believe me when I tell you that your way is a lot more likely to get us put in camps than mine. Stanford.
Everyone seems to forget the New Warriors didn't create that explosion. A mass murderer named Nitro did. A fugitive they were trying to stop.
They were trying to get ratings for their TV show.
I'm not calling them saints or even smart, but they were still out to do something good.
Well, their judgment was bad. Criminally so. Would you have fought Nitro in a populated area like that? Are you up for a walk? I heard the Young Avengers fixed the memorial statues, and I'd really like to pay my respects.
Iron Man and Captain America exit the mansion, head out into the yard where they come to the statue of the original Avengers that had been established decades ago.
It was Stanford that changed things for you, wasn't it? Before that, you went into Washington and lobbied against the Registration Act.
It was coming anyway. I always thought it was inevitable, though I did try to delay it. But after Stanford, there was no stopping it.
But you're not just bowing to the tide of history, Tony. You truly believe in this. I could tell. And I don't understand why.
Because it could have been me, Steve.
If you're referring to that disturbed boy who controlled your mind and made you kill those people, that's hardly...
No, I'm not talking about mind control. I'm talking about bad decisions. Stanford, instead of the New Warriors, it could easily have been me.
Ridiculous. You're a brilliant tactician. You'd never engage the enemy so close to a school.
I would have if I'd been drunk. I never told you this. Never told anyone. It was when I'd fallen off the wagon, when Obadiah Stane was stealing my company out from under me. I started drinking. Hard. Machine Man showed up at my office. We'd never met. He wanted to talk to me. To this day, I have no idea why. I'm too ashamed to ask. I wanted him to go away, and he wouldn't. So I decided I'd put on my Iron Man armor and throw him out. You know how dangerous a drunk is behind the wheel of a car? Imagine one piloting the world's most sophisticated battle armor. I swung a lamppost at him, missed by a mile. But I would have hit two of my workers if Machine Man hadn't pushed them out of the way. This close, and I'd be a murderer.
My God, Tony. But honestly, I don't see how registration would have made a difference. If we didn't know you were drinking again, your friends, if we couldn't stop you. Once I found out, I tried.
I remember. And I know registration won't stop every tragedy. But people in our position need accountability. Someone who, if I'd killed those men, would have thrown me in jail, where I belonged.
Well, we've always policed our own. When Hank had his breakdown, when he hit Jan, we held him responsible. We took him down, got him help. He served time.
Kind of interesting he's on my side, isn't it? He believes, as I do, that having our fellow heroes police us isn't enough. They have their own lives, their own concerns. Cops, soldiers, other first responders, they have oversight. Internal affairs, the military police.
Listen, Tony, it might be comforting to think that there's someone watching over you, seeing you don't make mistakes, but consider the downside. I was a cop, remember? They deal with countless false allegations of abuse. Imagine what we'd face. We couldn't do our jobs. Justin Hammer framed you for murder, your armor taken over by remote control, forcing you to kill a diplomat in front of a worldwide audience. I was framed too, by the secret empire. Look, police, soldiers, firefighters, they're all heroes, more so than we are. But we're higher profile, bigger targets. In both our cases, we were able to prove our innocence. Your way, we might still be rotting in prison.
And what if we'd been guilty? See? That's the problem here. It's why you can't see things from my perspective. Because it's predicated on the premise that superheroes make mistakes. And you're Captain America. You don't make mistakes.
I think I make mistakes.
And here we see Cap remembering, looking up in his mind to Bucky on that unmanned drone, and Bucky reaching back for him in that fateful moment.
There was that time during the Korvac affair. I was frustrated. I yelled at you for no reason, even took a swing.
You spouted off once. That we both remember it proves my point. Let's face it. If everyone were like you, we wouldn't need registration. But they're not. Everyone feels inadequate next to you. God knows I always have.
You? Tony, you're brilliant, successful, one of the richest men in the world.
Yes, I am. So if I get that way, imagine how kids like Cloak and Dagger must feel. They idolize you. Steve, we all do. And consciously or not, you're using that.
I'm what?
How many would still be resisting if it wasn't for you? Luke, maybe Daredevil and the Falcon. But Hercules can't even spell registration. He just knows you're his friend. And the younger ones, they don't want to disappoint Captain America.
How dare you accuse me of... You're the one who's manipulating people, offering them health insurance and federal paychecks to sign their lives away. What you did to Spider-Man is unconscionable. He wears his need for a father figure on his sleeve, and you played the role to the hilt to make him do what you asked.
Peter's an adult. He made his own decisions.
No, you made them for him. You're a good man at heart, Tony, but you've always thought you know best by virtue of your genius. And once you decide, that's it. Like during Galactic Storm, when you declared it was okay to kill the Supreme Intelligence because you judged he wasn't technically alive.
I was the one best qualified to...
It was also what you wanted. And when you get down to it, what you want has always come first. Like dating Jan, less than a month after her divorce, without telling her you were Iron Man, one of her ex-husband's best friends.
I told her.
Eventually, after she'd become attached enough to get hurt, and you got to what you were after. I saw that side of you myself when the government took away my shield. You made me a new one. Insisted I'd take it as a gift, knowing we might come to conflict over the armor wars. You wanted me to feel obligated to you. And then you destroyed the guardsman's armor because, through no fault of their own, it used some of your stolen designs, never mind that without him an entire prison full of supercriminals stood unprotected. Never mind that you struck me down from behind in the process. You could be the nicest guy in the world, Tony, the bravest hero, the staunchest ally. But at the end of the day, what you want trumps everything else. It's a quality I see in a lot of alcoholics.
And here they both pause and look at each other because they know what Steve is talking about.
That's right. I'd forgotten. Your father was an alcoholic, wasn't he?
I'm surprised you remember me telling you. You were pretty drunk at the time.
Makes sense. A lot makes sense now.
Don't. Don't try to make this personal.
I think it's a lot more personal than either one of us realized. You're the perfect man. You live by ideals and standards that are more than outdated. They're impossible for anyone but you. And when you're confronted by the shades of gray, when people inevitably disappoint you because people are flawed, you do what you've always done when the going got tough. You dig your heels in and fight even harder. Never mind whether you can win. Sometimes I think you'd rather go out in a blaze of glory than face reality.
You know, even after all these years, that's one of the things about the modern world I've had the hardest time adjusting to. All the damn psychobabble. What's right is what's right. If you believe it, you stand up for it.
Of all the naive... You don't like the Registration Act. Steve, do you have any idea what the alternatives are? I do. I saw the plans when I was Secretary of Defense. Have you ever heard of Project Wide Awake? Imagine a sky full of sentinels hunting us down, forcibly implanting inhibitor circuits in our brains, taking away our powers. Genetic testing of an entire population so any potential superhumans are under government control before they're even born.
Never happened. We'd fight it. We'd stop it.
What do you think I'm trying to do? From day one, I've been trying to keep this from getting as bad as I know it can be. And from day one, you've been fighting me. It's come to this. Bill's dead. Old friends are at each other's throats. Families torn apart. I know terrible things have happened, and I hate it. I hate that we're in this pattern of mutually assured destruction. You escalate, I escalate. Tell me, Steve. Tell me what I can do. What can I do to make it stop?
Tony looks at Steve, and you see a tear run down his eye. He's clearly emotional. He wants to reach out.
Join me. Denounce the act and help me fight it.
I can't. Even if I didn't believe in it, which I do. It's not about me. Losing me wouldn't stop it. Reed or Hank or someone would take over. But the resistance is all about you. You can put an end to this. Join me, Cap. Help me change things from within.
Within what? A cell? Because whether or not you can see the bars, that's where I'd be. Where we'd all be.
Damn you!
And Iron Man slams his fist down on the table, cracking it. And Cap turns to walk away.
We're not going to solve anything here. I should go.
No, we're not done.
Get your hand off.
And in the next panel, we see Iron Man shed his armor. And now he stands just as Tony Stark.
All right.
And Cap throws down his shield.
Let's go.
As we turn the page, we see a full page splash of Cap and Tony at blows. And Cap has his right hand around Tony's throat. He pushes Tony Stark into a table, breaking it in half. And Tony responds with a left cross against Cap's jaw. Steve responds with a right cross against Tony's jaw. And in the background, we see that photo of the Avengers hanging on the wall. And then we cut to a flashback of Tony Stark and Captain America shaking hands years ago in front of that picture.
So, with Iron Man under investigation for murder, I'm without a bodyguard. Fair game for kidnappers, terrorists, anyone. If you could possibly...
I'd be happy to give you a crash course in the defense arts, Mr. Stark.
And then we cut to a scene in the gym at the Avengers Mansion with Captain America and Tony Stark sparring on an exercise mat.
Not bad. You're in surprisingly good shape for a desk jockey.
Yeah, I play a lot of tennis.
Uh-huh. Tennis. I see.
And in the next few panels, we see a juxtaposition of Tony Stark and Captain America performing that training on the exercise mat years ago. And then we see today, the two of them actually fighting man to man, blow to blow, mirroring those exercises from long ago. In a flashback, we see them training, and we see Tony sweeping Cap's leg and taking him down on the exercise mat so many years ago.
Nice. Good follow through. You may not be ready for a prize fight just yet, but you should be able to handle street punks and the like.
Thanks, Teach. To be honest, I think I just really needed to release some aggression.
Meanwhile, in the present, we see Cap pinning Tony Stark down to the floor, getting ready to hit him one last time. And then again, in the past, in that training room.
I appreciate you taking your valuable time to help a desk jockey with his neuroses.
You appreciate. Are you kidding? Mr. Stark, when I woke up in this era, I had no one, nothing. You gave me a purpose, somewhere to belong. You gave me a home.
Cap, call me Tony.
And these scenes are interposed with scenes of the current struggle between Cap and Tony Stark. We see Cap turning to leave, and we see Tony Stark getting himself up off the floor painfully. They look at each other one last time.
We should have talked sooner.
Yeah.
Cap picks up his shield, and Tony Stark beckons his armor once again to sheath him. And then Cap turns to leave through the door. And we have a memory again of those many years ago between Tony Stark and Captain America.
Mr. Stark, Tony. I have a message for Iron Man. The next time you talk to him, tell him I know he's innocent. And tell him if he needs anything, ever, I hope he knows I've got his back.
That'll mean a lot to him, Cap.
And he reaches out for Tony Stark's hand, and Tony Stark shakes it.
And I know he'd say the same.
In this final page, we see Cap and Tony Stark in his Iron Man armor walking down the street outside Avengers Mansion, heading in different directions. And above them, we see an illustration of what they once looked like together as Avengers, as friends, as teammates, as colleagues.
The end. All right. Well, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
It was great.
Yeah, it does come across different. When you read it, it has a certain effect. But when you hear it voiced out by two different, voice actors, such as yourselves, it hits in a very different way, right? You pick up nuances, perhaps, that maybe you don't in the written word.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's such a good two-hander. It's so different from a lot of comics. Most comics have to have a fight, and this one does, but really it's two guys standing in a room talking to each other and, at this impasse. And they have so much history together.
Yeah, two guys with a real shared history, right? I mean, these aren't two strangers; these are friends and colleagues, and so they have those shared memories of experiences that are so beautifully illustrated in this story that it really does add to the text.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that we talked about in last episode with John, when we talked about Civil War, we brought up the fact that it is a huge story, and that it really got fleshed out outside of the 7 issues, right? That especially like the Spider-Man, with whole Peter Parker revealing his identity, right? Like that was kind of really fleshed out in his own series, and then that's one example. So I feel like this particular issue is really, really, I don't know, underappreciated as part of the. It really needs to be fleshed out, because sometimes people ask, well, why did Cap act that way in Civil War? And here we get to see a little bit behind the, because Tony flat out asks him, why are you so adamant about this? And we got, some reasoning behind Tony as well. But I think what we talked about in last episode, as far as Cap, this gets spelled out a little bit more. And I think Christos does an excellent job in bringing that out.
Yeah, one of the things that we often talk about in the podcast, right, particularly when we have writers on, is how much research do you do? Like how deep do you have to dive into previous story arcs, and not just in the main title but in other titles, in order to develop the story. And we often hear like folks, they read, or they were just familiar with it. But Christos takes a different approach. A lot of times, and we do this when we do recaps, right? We or read through stories. There's editor notes, but Christos he takes a whole page at the back of Casualties of War with footnotes for the various callbacks from previous stories, not just in the Cap titles, but Avengers and Young Avengers and Spider-Man and Iron Man. And it really does add flavor to the story, because you can go back and he does this not just here. We mentioned Battle World earlier. He did that in Battle World as well. And it just adds so much to the enjoyment of the story, because if you're not familiar with some of these other titles and what happened in them, it draws your attention to those, and you can go check them out. It's just super fun.
Yeah. So, Alan, I know you said that, the last 20 years, ever since Civil War, you were kind of Cap's your favorite character. Did you find it challenging doing the voice of Iron Man, which was, going up against Cap, did you feel like also kind of maybe it changed your mind a little bit seeing Tony's reasoning?
I think more the second thing than the first thing. I feel like Civil War, I've read it a bunch of times over the last 20 years. I think its star is dimmed a little bit for me over time. I think the flaws in it have kind of come to the forefront. And one of the big ones being that nobody really wanted to take Iron Man's side. Like the event feels very heavily slanted towards Captain America is right, period, even if the text of it is telling you something different. And this made me appreciate the what and the why of Tony Stark a lot more. I don't think the 7 issues slow down enough. This should really be like issue 4.5. This ought to be in there. I don't think Mark Millar could have written this issue. I think he's good at what he does, but this isn't him. So maybe it needed to be separate, but I think it really, like, this feels to me like this is De Niro and Pacino in Heat sitting in the diner having their conversation.
Awesome.
The whole movie goes on pause so they can talk.
Yeah.
And then we get going again.
Didn't John bring that up last episode?
I can't remember. Did he?
I think so. But because I remember, yeah. And you're absolutely right, Alan. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I really appreciated getting to revisit this. I thought I had the individual issue and I don't. I've read it on Marvel Limited. I have it in a trade paperback. So I didn't read it at the time, and I don't often go back to my trades. So it had been a while, but it's a wonderful issue that really spells this stuff out, both sides, much more clearly than I think any other part of the event.
And I think Christos really, he gets Tony Stark, right? And he gets Cap's, Steve Rogers' psychology in a way that maybe a lot of writers, don't dive that deep about their why they have certain personality. I mean, they both have personality flaws, right? In some cases, we look at those personality flaws as virtues when things go well, but when they don't go well, like in Civil War, we see how those personality flaws can be a liability.
Yeah, and I think if you talk to most unpowered people, you talk to the three of us and our families, and you really sit down and think about what it means to have superpowered people running around in a world full of unpowered muggles. A lot of us probably would fall on the side of Tony Stark
All right,
because
now
they
you're crossing streams now, man.
Yeah.
but I think, this is something in real life a lot more of us would probably be okay with, because how many people do feel, you come into someone who thinks they can do XYZ because I trust them. It's like, yeah, but it isn't just you. If I can trust you, then we have to extend that same courtesy to everyone, or we don't. And that's a whole different conversation. I think it really brings a lot of the complexity to the forefront.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great point. I also want to I'm also this gets me more excited for the upcoming Civil War Unmasked 5-part story.
I hadn't heard about that. I have to go talk to my guy.
Yeah, so yeah, and Christos will talk about it next episode, so make sure everyone, comes back and listens to that. But essentially it's a 5-part story, and featuring behind the scenes with these particular characters. So Iron Man and Bishop are kind of in, I think, the first issue. Then there's a Spider-Man. There's a Bill Foster, Goliath. There's a Tigra, and then I think the last one is Captain America, Steve Rogers. And so if he approaches those behind the scenes moments as he did like this one, with Casualties of War, I'm sold, because I feel like I really would love to see, the same treatment that we got in today's story with these other characters, like, especially like, Tigra, right? Like, she was a plant on Steve's team from Tony, and would love to see, what was going on with her during that time, and how she dealt with, that feeling of betraying friends and so on, and spying and then of course, I think, obviously can't wait for the Captain America one.
Yeah, that's going to be a really great series, and I'm willing to bet it's going to be so well researched, as Christos usually does, that it's going to be it's going to pique readers' interest in going back and checking out some prior story arcs as well.
Yep. All right, so Alan, as our guest, you get to lead us off. We're going to do favorite panel, T-shirt worthy, and time capsule. So you get to start, lead us off with what was your favorite panel in this story?
This is an interesting one to pick from because so much of it are two guys standing in a room. So this was actually kind of an easy choice for me. I'm glad I could go first. On Marvel Unlimited, it's page 21, panel 4. Steve saying, "I think I make mistakes," and the flashback to the plane and watching Bucky fly away to his doom. That is one of the big emotional beats in the story. I love that cutaway.
Cannot believe you stole mine right off the bat, Alan.
Nice, Alan. First of all, good job.
No, sorry, not sorry.
All right, Bob, you gonna pivot? What's your favorite panel?
All right, well, I'm going to go same Marvel Unlimited, page 29, and is that 3/4 splash with the Sentinels flying through the sky. I just think that is such a richly done 3/4 splash, just beautifully rendered, with the civilians looking up and pointing in the sky as this army of Sentinels flies across the skyline. It's just so well done, and it's scary, right?
It was, yeah. It has like that ominous kind of.
It does, yeah. So well done.
That was my number 2. That was my backup.
Yeah. And how about you, Rick?
And I just want to compliment you on that, because it does paint that. It's one thing, Tony, to say that. It's another thing to envision it.
Yes.
Right. And that was pretty impressive.
And it pulls at something we already know, as like, even if you're not an X-Men person primarily, everyone knows Days of Future Past. Everyone knows the Sentinels. Yeah. So it quickly pulls you into that headspace.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I do believe that if you are an X-Men fan and Days of Future Past, I do believe Christos that is part of one of his five-part story. I believe with the one with Bishop as Days of
Nice.
Future Past. Yeah. For me, I'm going in. The Marvel Unlimited. I'm going page 28, panel 4, and that's the one where Tony has a tear in his eye, and he says, "What can I do to make it stop?" I thought that was really well done. Because you see the sincerity in Tony's face. Like he really does. He's not trying to just convince Steve. He's also trying to make it all better. And so I thought this was a very impactful panel.
Yeah, I mean, Tony often comes off as being kind of clinical, right? And obviously manipulative and self-assured, self-righteous, as does Steve sometimes. But that tear in his eye shows that this is painful for him. Like, and often we don't give him credit for that. So
yeah, it was almost like he was looking at litter.
Iron Eyes Stark.
Yeah. All right, so Bob, I go next as far as we're kind of like a snake draft, right?
Yeah, we are.
So
yeah.
I'm going with my T-shirt, and it's the very next panel, and then I want on my T-shirt Cap saying "Join me,"
Nice,
denouncing the act, and help me fight it.
Yeah,
that I wanted a T-shirt, man.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. How about you, Bob?
All right. Well, it's on page 28, Rick. It's that one panel that is colored in a very different way. It's Captain America in red, white, and blue. And he's got him holding his shield up in his right hand, right? You're the perfect man. You live by ideals and standards that are the more than outdated. Are more than outdated. They're impossible for anyone but you. And there's some additional text by Iron Man. But I just love that rendering of Captain America.
So you'd want that without the copy?
Yeah, I think I'd do it without the copy. I want that full up on my shirt.
Gotcha. How about you, Alan? What's going on T-shirt for you?
I fought with this a little bit. Part of me wanted to do the final image because I like the Cap and Iron Man up in the sky.
Yeah.
But having the two guys walking in separate images on the bottom makes me hesitate. So I think I want to actually go off the reservation a bit. I really like the cutaway to Cloak and Dagger. They are a favorite like C or D level hero team of mine, again, since I was a kid. And they're never in anything. And I just really like that image of them. I would love to have that on a T-shirt.
Unbelievable. Nobody took the cover of Iron Man beating down Cap. I can't believe it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't even really think about it.
Yeah. The other one was nice though, but a bit rich, I think, for a T-shirt.
Alan, what do you put in your time capsule?
Yeah. Time capsule. I mean, so much of this is kind of a retrospective, but more than anything, the thing that jumped out at me was page 20 on Marvel Limited, panel 3, was the reminder that Steve was a cop. We forget about that a lot. It was happened a really long time ago. And I liked that callback to that he was not just a superhero at one point. He was an actual police officer for, blink and you'll miss it period of time.
I do think that's overplayed by Steve Rogers sometimes. I'm like, you were kind of pretending to be a cop for a while, right? Yeah. It's not like you went to the academy or anything, but yeah.
All right, Bob. Well, then what's your time capsule?
Well, you mentioned Christos Gage and his entree into the Marvel world here on this title back when we covered the creditors. But you did mention Jeremy Haun, and I think this is his first work as a penciler, and it's certainly his first work on a Cap story. Although I think he's only ever done one other Cap story, and that is in Marvel Comics Present #6, where he also does a Cap story. So I'm going to do a shout out to Jeremy.
All right, I like that. Yeah, it's a good call out by you.
Yeah. And how about you, Rick? What's in your time capsule?
I'm going to go with it's page 38 on the Marvel Unlimited, which is basically the third to last page. And it's basically when the two of them said, we should have talked sooner. And they go their own ways. That's the Rubicon right there.
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah.
They're done. And that to me is, time capsule worthy.
Indeed. Yeah. A lot is going to happen after that panel. So it is indeed the Rubicon. I do think I didn't mention earlier, but I think it's important to point out. I got to give Tony Stark credit in this story that he's the one that called this meeting, right? And gave it a shot. So,
yeah, that's for sure. All right. Well, Alan, thank you so much for coming on the show. We hope you had a good time.
This was fantastic. Thank you guys so much for inviting me back. It was a wonderful issue. I had a fantastic time.
Great.
Awesome.
Always
We
fun.
appreciate it. And just, if you don't mind, people, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. If you're on YouTube right now, please hit that thumbs up button. We also love getting your comments. So whether that's on YouTube or Spotify or in our Facebook group, do that. And then also 5-star review on Apple. You can leave a review there with your comments, and we will read those here as well. And listen, if you want to support the show, if you feel it's worth, one comic a month to keep us going, we appreciate it. You can check us out at buymeacoffee.com/Cap Comic Fans. So for Alan Kingsley, Bob Lucius, I'm Rick Verbanis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.